joining us now, running for lieutenant governor. He's got a shot in this race, big underdog. He's coming from behind. He's closing in the final couple of weeks. Glenn Davis. Glenn Davis, House of Delegates member, Virginia Beach. Hey, Glenn, good to have you, man.
Good morning, John. Good to be back on the show.
Okay, you're closing in this race. You're an underdog. Vogel's the favorite. I think you're closing. I think it's going to be close. Vogel, Reeves, still now embroiled in this lawsuit. They got to go to court June 9th. God knows why. Glenn, how do you win this race?
Well, John, I think it's safe to say that come June 14th, I'm the only one that's going to be focused on the families of Virginia. So, if we're expecting to take Virginia red again in 2017, I think we need a candidate that's focused on working for Virginia families and taking Virginia back. And, I think it's obvious I'm the only one that's going to be focused on that the day after the primary. So I think that's what people are looking for. Additionally, John, like I said on your show from, early on, we won. Our message is what resonates. The polls show it. Our opponents show it. They've pivoted off their messages now. They've transitioned from one message to the other. Now they're both on my message, and their consultants are just trying to create a better blend than I am, but it's not working. I know you're thinking we're closing, and I'll tell you I got 3 polls that tell us that we're ahead on an election day summary with the undecided still leaning our way. But regardless, polls don't matter. It's who you get to turn out on election day. And we've got a great amount of momentum, and I'm thrilled to have all the support we've got statewide.
You're getting eaten alive on TV. Jill Vogel's got another big ad campaign going. I haven't seen anything from Reeves except something small. So in the conventional sense, you look at this and you look at the number of ads that Vogel's doing in the final 2 weeks versus I haven't seen any for Davis. That leads, many of us to believe that you're closing, but it's tough to get there when you're being outspent 20-1. So
yeah, well, John, it was, we knew we were getting outspent. I'll tell you where both of them are being outspent, and that's time in the field, time with the voters, and time coming up with solutions. Look, we all knew that Jill's family was going to have as much money as they needed to outspend at least 2-1, if not more of a 5-1, Reeves and myself. That was a given. But what neither one had as much of as I had was time to get around, the resources to get around the state as much as we have, or the background to be able to deliver the message we're delivering and making Virginia #1 again for business and job growth and really creating a real impact for people's lives. You can run commercials all you want, but, I can make breakfast in the morning type thing. It looks good, but people want real solutions. They want economic opportunities for their family. And Jill's attempt at it created an increased marriage penalty and wealth redistribution. Every accountant says so. And Bryce's attempt at Medicaid reform was to give everyone on Medicaid basically a $5,000 check and say go buy a television. So I'm the only one out there with real solutions. I'm the only one out there that was working, on creating economic opportunities and tax reform before I ever announced for lieutenant governor. And I think that's what people are buying into when we are gaining all the momentum that we have across the state.
Okay, so when you say you've got public opinion surveys or polling that shows you ahead, gaining, or neck and neck, are these your own internal polls? Are these any polls that have been published? What are they?
2 of them were internals. One was in-kinded to us after it was ran. We had nothing to do with it being in the field. One is a sampling size of 3,100 across the state, weighted as you'd expect, both from a Selfridge perspective as well as a regional perspective. And it has us up a few points. But, at the end of the day, I think one thing we all realize is, I don't want anyone to get complacent, especially our supporters, because as much as polls show that we were up a few points, anything can happen. We still need a dry voter turnout. And I think 2016 proved that, it's poll numbers are great for point in time, but it's all about who turns out.
All right, the bottom line is, look, you're going to carry Hampton Roads, and I think you're going to carry Southwest Virginia. And you probably battle everybody to a 3-way tie there in Richmond. But then you look at Northern Virginia, and that's where Vogel's got the advantage in a conventional wisdom, but that's where everybody votes, right? So she wins that big, it's over. How do you cut in to what is perceived to be Vogel's natural advantage in Northern Virginia?
Well, I would argue, why do you perceive that to be her natural advantage? she's from Fauquier County. I mean, if you've driven from Fauquier to some of those places in Northern Virginia, I mean, granted, it's not, as far away as driving to Southwest Virginia, John, but, it ain't exactly right next door to Fairfax. So there's a lot of opportunity, and we've taken advantage of it. It's up there is a big technology area. A lot of their economy is new industry. It's government contracting, which obviously I'm very familiar with, being from Hampton Roads. We have a lot of that, and working with the military, and obviously a lot of that in Hampton Roads. There's a lot of cybersecurity opportunity, and my background's in technology. I also chaired the cybersecurity subcommittee. And then, John, we need to bring the moderate voters, the moderate Republicans, back home. And one issue that does not stop at a partisan line is poverty, unemployment, underemployment. John, is what I've been talking about, and it's what people are looking for. They're looking to have a better life for themselves and their family. And Jill's message doesn't get it done. Bryce's message doesn't get it done. My message of reducing the tax and regulatory burdens on small businesses that are responsible for 70% of all job creation, that message gets it done, and I'm the only one with the background that can actually bring it to fruition.
Well, I don't know what Reeves' message is. When you find it, have somebody on your staff let me know, because I can't figure it out, and I'm pretty astute at this stuff. I have no idea what his message is, and we're 2 weeks out. Therefore, I think he's going to finish last. But that's just me. Look, I want to get to policy here. Frank Wagner on my show last week made a pretty bold proposal for what he called standards of achievement, SOA. He says, look, let's get technical training in high schools. Let's get standards of achievement along with SOLs for kids that want to get a trade and want to be a craftsman, and whether it's a lineman or a pipe fitter or a welder or a carpenter, some craft out there where the jobs are. Let's get that back in the high school so they're not spending $25,000 at ECPI. I think the guy's onto something. I know this is also a little bit of what you talked about. Do you think that's viable? But he really wanted to go so far to say you actually have standards and it's a separate testing, and then you bring in the instructors to teach this in high school so then kids can come out and get apprenticeships in the trades as craftsmen and women. Do you think he's onto something? And if you're lieutenant governor, is that something you would be interested in backing?
Well, I can't speak for his standards of whatever he calls them, and I haven't seen a detailed review of what that entails. It is like a vocational SOL type test. So
right.
What I will say, though, from a theory, he's definitely, and it's something, John, that I've been in the middle of. I have been even before my time at the House of Delegates. That charter school that I helped start, and I'm on the Board of Governors on, the first thing we did was partner with Steel, STIHL, the company that every steel chainsaw in the world is made out of steel in my district in Virginia Beach. And the first thing I did was work a partnership between them and that charter school, Green Run Collegiate, which is now brought to the whole Virginia Beach public school system, where the students can go there and start to be educated in robotics manufacturing and start to get that apprenticeship and then be hired straight out of high school. John, I think that is something we need to bring statewide. It's something that I've already started at a city level, and I know how to do it because I've done it.
That is, I think, where we have to be headed, and that should fit into your jobs message. So it might be something you want to look at. Look, we're down to the final 10 days here or so, 12 days before this election. There's no more forums, right? I mean, you guys are basically done. You've had all your forums and debates. You're in the final stretch. What's the closing message here for Glenn Davis?
Well, I mean, the closing message is simple. People are tired of rhetoric. They're tired of sound bites. They want someone that can create a message that makes a difference for them and then deliver on it. I'm the only one that can do that. I've had the same message from day one, the 4-point plan to make Virginia number one again for business and job growth. I've got a background that shows that I'm passionate about it, that I've already been working on it, and I can deliver. And I'm also the guy that can bring the Republican ticket past the finish line. John, you and I both know that we've already got John Adams. Two of the three gubernatorial candidates are from Northern Virginia. And we're going to need to have a balance on that ticket. So to make sure we bring home Hampton Roads, I'm the guy that ran for city council. When I won both times, it was 60% of the vote. We run citywide. It's the largest city in Virginia. I can make sure I keep the moderate Republicans on our side and bring home some moderate Democrats in the general to make sure that we have a Republican governor and a Republican attorney general, not just a Republican lieutenant governor. I think that's really important.
Well, I tell you what, Glenn, 2 of the 3 candidates running for lieutenant governor on the Democratic side are very liberal, but one is an absolute bomb thrower extraordinaire, and that's Susan Platt. I mean, she's running her campaign against Trump. I mean, I have not heard one policy idea out of her for Virginia other than Trump sucks. And so if she is the Democratic nominee for lieutenant governor, whoever the Republican is, they're going to be fighting somebody who is going to run a campaign against the president that is exceedingly progressive. So I think that's going to be an interesting race. Probably the toughest candidate in there to beat is Gene Rossi, and he's going to come in 3rd place. So he isn't going to win. I think it's going to be between Platt and Fairfax. But look, you've got 13, 14 days. Just give our audience a little bit of a feel here in the final minute we've got of where you're going to be over the next 2 weeks.
Well, actually, John, we're going to be all around. We're finalizing the second half of the next 2 weeks now, and it's getting back around Virginia again. One last drive to bring it home. I've got about 4 fundraisers in the next week that we've also got teed up, and we have that final push for. So, I mean, everything's coming together just as we kind of built it. And I think people can expect me in just about all parts of the state, honestly, John, kind of that stay tuned scenario. But what they can truly understand is a strong push to make sure we deliver that message that we are the only candidate running for lieutenant governor that really is running on creating jobs and opportunity, has the background, and that people can expect to deliver on that message as the next lieutenant governor.
All right, Glenn Davis, I appreciate you being with us today. You're working hard. I think you're closing, and I think you're going to make this very, very close. And just tell my audience, we've been saying for 6 months, don't count Glenn Davis out. He's going to close, and he's going to make this into a horse race. Glenn, thanks for being with us, and appreciate your going around Virginia in mellow yellow, talking to people. I got to tell my audience, the last 3 events that I've been at, Davis is there. I don't know how he makes it, but he's at everything I'm at. So I appreciate that. Glenn, good luck. We'll have you back next week.
Sounds good. Thank you, John. Have a great day.
More information, glennrdavis.com, glennrdavis.com. This is the John Fredericks Radio Network.